Hey fellow Uni developers, and welcome to episode 4 of making a bullet hell game. Now this episode will be all about introducing some inheritance into our game. However, yesterday I accidentally cut the episode a bit short and we actually forgot to add a basic enemy. So let's jump right in and do that. So the first thing we want to do is add a few layers. So we'll click on an object, we'll go on layer, and we'll go click add layer. I want to add player, player projectile, enemy, and enemy projectile. I'll cover these in a bit more in depth in the next episode, but for now we can look at them as if they're tags and we can use them to differentiate between different objects. So once we've added these layers, we'll add an enemy. So how do we add an enemy? Well, we'll go to our player and we'll press Ctrl D to duplicate him. Go F2 to rename, let's call him enemy. Let's put him over here. We'll get rid of this bullet hell player script. And on his sprite, we'll color him red to easily distinguish him from the player. Okay. Now we'll want to add his own script. So what we'll do is we'll add component, and here we'll go bullet hell enemy. So in the exact same way that a player can detect a road trigger, we'll be able to detect incoming projectiles onto our enemy here, and we'll be able to deal damage. So let's go into our bullet hell player here. Sorry, bullet hell enemy. Now let's add a health variable. So we'll go float health equals 100. Okay, perfect. Now we'll actually want to make an onTrigger enter function, just like our player. So we'll go void onTrigger enter 2D. So instead of checking the tag of our game object, we can actually check the layer. So we go if collision.gameObject.layer equals 9. This means that we have actually detected a player projectile and it should do damage. So let's go ahead and make a take damage function. We'll go private void take damage. I'll pass in the float damage as a parameter. We'll call this function in our onTrigger enter and we'll hard code it to a value of 100 for the time being. Now in the take damage function, we'll want the health to be subtracted by the damage. So we'll go health minus equals damage. Now, what if the enemy's health is below 0? Well, we'll want to destroy him, so we'll go if health equals less than or equal to 0. And here we'll need another function. So we'll call die. Let's make a function called die now, private void die. Paste that in there. And inside our die function, we'll call destroy this.gameObject. So we're all set. Let's see how that goes. Perfect. So our enemy can actually die from our bullets now. As you can see there, the bullet passes right through him. So what we'll want to do is we'll go back into our code and we'll want to destroy the bullet object that we detected. So we'll go collision.gameObject. Actually, we'll wrap that inside a destroy. Alright, so we have our enemy that has health and can die, and we have a player and can shoot. So one thing you might notice is that there's a lot of commonality between our enemy and their player. Well, not right now, but in the end state of our game there should be. So we want both of them to have health, we want both of them to be able to shoot, we want both of them to be able to move. So this is where inheritance comes into play. So let's imagine that we have a class for a race car game object, or a race car class, and we have a dump truck class. Now these two objects have a lot in common, but they also have some things that are not in common. So for example, maybe the race car can use nitrous oxide to go faster, and the dump truck can empty its junk. Or maybe one car is controlled by the AI, and one car is player controlled, like in our instance here. So this is where inheritance comes in really handy. So what I'll do is we'll right click, create a new C# script, and we'll call this bullet hell car. And this is the place where we'll want to put everything that these two objects have in common. So let's start off with a few variables. All of the cars in our game are going to need health and acceleration. So we'll go float health, vector2 acceleration. So at the moment, also, when the player shoots, we're shooting bullets every single frame. So that's not good. So what we want to do is we'll want to make a cooldown and the time last fired. And I'll explain these variables later on. But for now, let's just go float shoot cooldown and float time last fired. Also, both of these objects shoot a bullet prefab. So I want to add in a public game object bullet prefab here too. Now, this is enough variables for now, but we'll add more later on. So what about our functions? Well, we want both carriers to be able to move, shoot, and take damage and die. So let's add these in. Void take input for our move function. Void shoot for our shooting function. Void take damage. And void die. So what we have right now is we have the skeleton of what we call the base class. So this is going to be the class that our player and enemy inherits all of these things that we just added from, and they're going to get carried down. So let's go to our two child classes and we can start editing those. So first of all, we're going to go into our player screen. And instead of making this class be a child derived from mono behavior, we'll make this class be derived from bullet hell car. So we actually don't need any of these variables here anymore because we're going to get these from our parent class. And actually, I forgot to add a rigid body reference to our parent, so we'll control X this. I'll go over here and we'll paste that in. Alright, so let's delete all these variables. So as you can see here, we have an error. Bullet hell car.acceleration is inaccessible due to its protection level. Well, there's three kind of protection levels that we need to worry about in C#, and this is public, private, and protected. So private means that can only be seen in the class that it's in. As these functions here, you won't be able to see these in a class outside of this class. We have public functions, which can be called outside, and then we have protected functions. So what protected means is, if we go into our bullet hell car and make this protected, so what protected means is that our child classes will be able to edit this object. So let's put protected there, and in our player you'll see that these acceleration variables become accessible to us now. So let's go back into our bullet hell car, and I think for now we'll want to make most of these protected because we want to be able to edit these in our child classes. And also for our functions can be protected as well. So let's throw these in here. So let's do one function at a time, since if you're new to inheritance, it can be quite a mess. So let's start off with our shoot function. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this not only protected but also virtual. Now virtual is just a fancy word of saying that a child can make its own version of this function and use that one instead of this one. So we'll make this protected virtual void shoot. Now let's go back into bullet hell player. And let's change the shoot function to be protected override void shoot. Okay, so we actually have a typo here. We're just going to go into our bullet hell car and we'll rename our bullet prefab to be projectile prefab. Okay, and back in our bullet hell player, what I'm going to do is, for the time being, I'm going to comment out this void update. We can go Control K and C, and this will comment it out. So now we're going to go into our bullet hell car, and in our update function, we're going to type shoot. And let's see what happens. So what happens here is I'm not even pressing the mouse button, but because inside our parent we have shoot in our update function, so it's going to go here, go and try call the shoot function, and it's going to see that this player has a different version of this function and it's going to call this one instead. Okay, so now I'm just going to remove the changes that we made for that little demo. So we can go here and we can press Control K in view, and we'll be able to uncomment this function pretty quickly. And in bullet hell car, we'll remove this shoot function from our update. So let's move on to the take input. Now in bullet hell car, we'll also be making this a protected virtual void. And in the player script, we'll make this protected override void take input. Now since we'll be calling take input from the parent class, we don't need this take input here in our update. In fact, I don't think we need this update at all, so let's get rid of that. Now in our bullet hell car, this is where we'll put our call to take input. Okay, so that's the input done. Let's move on to our take damage script. So because take damage is going to work the same way regardless of whether it's an enemy or a player, we don't have to override this function in any of our child classes. So we'll just make this protected and not virtual. So let's go into our bullet hell enemy, and we're going to want to steal this code and paste it into our bullet hell player. Sorry, bullet hell car. And we'll make sure it's protected and not private. And we have extra brackets there. Let's get rid of that. And also we'll want to copy this die function from our bullet hell enemy. And we'll also want to paste this into our car. And we need to make sure that it's protected. Okay, and back in our bullet hell enemy, we'll actually want to delete our health variable here because we inherit this from our car. Now we've already set the parent of our bullet hell player to be bullet hell car, but we need to do this for a bullet hell enemy, so we'll change this to bullet hell car. As you can see, we have access to the take damage function. So that was a lot of words and a lot of confusing things probably. So let's see what's actually happened from our changes here. So the game still plays exactly as before. We can't move at the moment because we haven't set our acceleration, but that's alright. But the thing is, we made our lives a lot easier because in future we'll actually have a lot less code to write. So in later episodes, I'll try and point out where and why this kind of inheritance has saved us time. So that's all for now. In the next episode, we're going to finish our projectiles and add some stats to differentiate our player from our enemy. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.